Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to jump into something really interesting. This huge difference between simply knowing about a truth and actually experiencing it for yourself. So, you've probably heard this famous verse from the Bible a bunch of times, right? You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. On the surface, it seems pretty simple. Get knowledge, get freedom. It's this powerful idea that truth can literally liberate us.
But hang on a second. What if that word know is deeper than we think? What if the freedom it's talking about comes from a kind of knowing that's way more than just having facts in your head? Let's dive into that.
It turns out the Bible itself seems to point to two totally different ways of knowing something. And it's not just about what you know, it's all about how you know it. So on one side, you've got your standard intellectual knowledge. You know, facts, data, stuff you can read in a book. But then there's this other thing, experiential knowledge, or unabove. This is a personal, direct encounter. It's kind of like the difference between reading a Wikipedia page about someone versus them being your best friend. One is just information you borrowed. The other is your actual lived reality.
And get this, there's this wild story in the book of Acts about these 7 guys, the sons of Sceva. They tried to cast out a demon using Jesus' name, but they only knew about him. And the demon, well, it calls them out with this absolutely chilling line, basically saying, look, I know Jesus, I've heard of Paul, but you guys, you've got nothing. They had the right words, but zero personal connection, and it just didn't work.
So if just having the facts isn't enough, how do we get to that deeper, real kind of knowing? Well, the scriptures give us a pretty amazing metaphor for it.
Think about that wording for a second. It doesn't say reason and conclude that the Lord is good. It says taste and see. Tasting is something you have to do for yourself. It's active, it's personal, it's totally undeniable. It's an invitation to go find out firsthand.
And that brings us right back to this idea of unabove. This isn't just some theory you agree with. It's a truth that's become a part of your story because you've actually lived it. It's been tested and proven in your life, which makes it real and tangible.
This slide just nails the difference, doesn't it? You can read every textbook there is on electricity. You can understand all the physics, become a leading expert. But all of that is a completely different world from the personal, unforgettable reality of actually getting a shock. One is information. The other is an experience you will never forget.
Okay, and this is where it gets really powerful. This experiential knowing, this anubhav, is actually presented as the bedrock for real, unshakable faith, especially when things look completely impossible. Let's just take the classic story of David. You've got this giant, Goliath, and the entire trained army of Israel is completely paralyzed with fear. I mean, logically, looking at the data, the fight was a total non-starter. But look at how David responds. This is so key. He doesn't quote some abstract theological principle. He points to his personal track record. He's basically saying, look, I've tasted and seen this before. I have a history with God. He showed up for me with lions and bears, and this is just the next thing. He'd felt the shock of God's power before.
So you see, David's incredible confidence wasn't just youthful arrogance. It was the direct result of his lived experience, his anubhav. He wasn't just hoping God might help. He was walking out onto that field, counting on a relationship that had already been proven to him time and time again.
Okay, how about another one? The Bible says Abraham was told to just pack up, leave everything he ever knew, and start walking to a place he'd never even seen. He didn't get a map, no itinerary. I mean, who does that? Why on earth would you do that?
And here's the answer. His trust wasn't in the final destination. It was in the one who was calling him. He had that anubhav, that personal, experiential relationship. He had a history of conversations and encounters that gave him the rock-solid confidence to trust the guide, even when he had none of the details about the journey.
All right, so what does all this mean for us right now? If this deeper way of knowing is what builds that kind of unshakable faith, how do we get it?
Well, it's not some big secret. Just like any real relationship, it takes being intentional. It means you got to move beyond just reading the biography. It means actually spending time connecting, having real two-way communication, and being willing to actively engage, to really taste and see for yourself.
So, I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. We can fill our heads with all the knowledge in the world from thousands of books. But this other kind of knowing, this life-changing, faith-building anubhav, where do we find that? It seems it can only be found out there, in the journey itself. Thanks so much for joining me.